John Mayer Silver Sky has been one of Paul Reed Smith's best-selling USA models in recent years. But when the PRS Mark Lettieri Fiore came out, well, looking at the specs, I immediately thought it might actually be a better choice for a lot of players. Now look, obviously I'm aware there are many videos comparing these two guitars. But perspectives are different, and I'll give you mine as objectively as possible. I've played the two guitars back-to-back many times now, and I'm going to share what I've learned. So stay with me. Of course, there are lots of more or less superficial differences, such as the headstocks, the nut shapes, the Fiore's extra carve on the upper horn and lack of a pickguard. But at this point, most of us know it's not all about cosmetics, and they are actually quite different instruments. Despite the similarities in terms of features, sound, and feel, they could almost be from different decades. The Silver Sky has its own visual style, but functionally it's a very traditional 60s style guitar, which is, of course, no accident. The idea was to replicate the best of the 63 and 64 era Strats favored by John Mayer. And with its alder body, 7 1/4 inch radius, 60s neck profile, and 60s voiced pickups, it really does feel, play, and sound very similar to a nice Strat from that era. The Fiore, with its 10-inch radius, 2-point trim, and HSS pickup arrangement, and switching system, is a more modern instrument, but still manages to strike a nice balance of the modern and the traditional. The neck thickness is very close to the Silver Sky, but it feels quite different, a bit fuller and more rounded. Honestly, both could be vintage Fender necks, just from different guitars. Other than the lack of any V-shape, the Fiore neck reminds me a little more of a 50s Fender. And of course, the ash body also recalls 50s models. Now, I'm not going to get into the numbers too much. Not only are they very close on paper, but I want to focus on what the numbers don't say. The subjective differences. Between the difference in the fingerboard radius, along with the neck carves, it's immediately obvious you're playing two very different guitars, even before you plug in. Now, back to back, I don't feel an advantage or disadvantage in playability. Both play as smoothly as you'd expect a USA PRS to play. But I do imagine many players may find one more comfortable than the other. Of course, if you're after versatility, the Fiore with its bridge humbucker and useful switching system clearly has the edge. So if you like having extra sounds on board, the Fiore will give you everything from driving humbucker tones to big round Strat tones to telly-like sounds. On the other hand, the Silver Sky has one very clear mission, and that's to produce stellar Strat sounds, which it does about as well as anything I've played, including actual vintage pieces. So if I could keep just one, which would it be? Well, even for me, that's a tougher call than you might think. I literally grew up playing what are now vintage Fenders, and I absolutely love the sound and feel of a great vintage Strat. Having played them for decades, I'm more than comfortable with the 7¼ inch radius and the 60s neck profile. And being somewhat addicted to classic Strat tones, I would have imagined I'd prefer the Silver Sky. But the Fiore is equally appealing in its own way. With its fat, sweet pickups, smooth trim, and expanded tonal options, it really is a blast to have on stage or in the studio. It's a very tough call. It's almost as if the one I like best is the one I happen to have in my hands at the moment. And the truth is, either could suit me just fine. So what do you think? Let's assume you're considering one of these, not a custom shop Strat or a Sur or whatever. That's a different discussion. But do let me know which of these two you'd choose, based either on your own experiences or what you've seen here. Well, thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate all of you. And before you go, please remember to like this video and subscribe if you haven't yet. Also hit that notification bell so you'll know when the next video drops, and I will see you again very soon.